Hi, Ben Pearson, the Roaster Tracker, and today I want to talk to you about trees. Specifically, I want to talk to you about planting trees on the surface of the planet Mars. Now, let's say that we have a terraformed Mars. We know from my previous videos that the amount of carbon dioxide that would be in the atmosphere of Mars when it's completely terraformed would be about 3.9 quadrillion tons. That's 390,000 trillion tons of carbon dioxide. That is an enormous amount of carbon dioxide. Now, let's say that we go and plant some trees on the red planet. And let's just pick the number of 20 million. Some of you may know where I'm going with this, but we'll get back to that number in a minute. Okay, so you go and you plant these trees on the terraformed Mars. How much carbon dioxide would they actually soak up? Well, let's say that each tree weighs on average about 2 tons. If it was on Mars, the trees may grow better, especially in a really, really high carbon dioxide environment, but 2 tons is about how much a tree on Earth weighs. The primary component of these trees is carbon. So you get that carbon from the carbon dioxide. So you take about 7 tons of carbon dioxide, you take about 2 tons of that and convert it into carbon for the tree, and the other 5 tons will be released as oxygen. And that's effectively what the trees would do. So you're capturing about 7 tons of carbon dioxide. Now, some of that would assume that you didn't trap it up in other ways. For instance, if you're using it to build some kind of a door like what I have here before me, or whatever kind of building, then the wood is not going to decompose very quickly. It's going to stay pretty stable, and those calculations would work. On Earth, it wouldn't work quite that cleanly. Okay, so you plant these 20 million trees, you would take up about 140 million tons of carbon dioxide at a maximum. Now, that's a lot of carbon dioxide, but it's only a very, very small fraction of what's there. In fact, the amount of carbon dioxide that is currently on Mars is about 25 million tons. So you're still not taking up even a small portion of that. And this would assume that you pumped it all into some kind of a big dome, because you can't just go plant trees on the surface of Mars. So let's talk about that in context of Earth a little bit. If you were to plant 20 million trees on Earth, the trees are going to decompose. They're not going to be perfectly formed. You're going to have some of them that will burn, but you will still absorb a small amount of carbon dioxide, and it would help to make the atmosphere a little bit cleaner. Now, I used to live in the state of Arizona, and you wouldn't know it, but Arizona has a lot of forests. The forests are up in the mountains, but it is still a desert. And like all of the desert areas that have forests, these forests are dry. And if you have the right spark, then a significant forest fire can happen. The largest forest fires in the United States consistently happen in the states of Arizona, California, and the other western states that have desert and have forests. I would go hiking through some of these areas that you would go from a fairly dense forest to just barren, and you may see some husks of trees. And these were areas where wildfires were burned. If you go and plant trees in that area, you can help that area to grow back into a more normal thing. And you can help a lot of small habitats. You're not going to make a huge difference overall. By the way, there's about 3 trillion trees in the world, roughly. I also calculated there's about 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, so each tree has approximately 1 ton of carbon dioxide for it in the entire world. But this 20 million trees, it would only make just a tiny, tiny difference in the overall global trends, but it would make somewhat of a difference for these local areas. Now, where did this come from? Well, as many of you, most of you probably know, there's been an effort founded by a number of YouTube creators, started by Mr. Beast, who had 20 million subscribers, and somebody gave him the idea to plant 20 million trees. That was more than he could handle by himself, but he set out an effort and he partnered with some other people who know a lot, like Destin from Smarter Every Day, who has a pretty big audience, and a number of other YouTubers, both big and small. And they've all banded together to help to collect this money that is necessary to plant these trees. Now, if I go out and go to a local store and I buy a little sapling and plant it in the ground, it's probably going to cost me 15-20 bucks just for that sapling. Last time I did it, at least that's how much it cost. If you get a bigger tree, even more. But if you have somebody who really knows what they're doing, they can plant the right trees in the right area, in the right conditions that they'll grow, and they can do it for much, much cheaper than I would be able to do myself. So they partnered with the Arbor Day Foundation, which they know trees. I mean, it's in their name. Arbor means tree in Latin-based languages. And as a result, they are able to plant these trees for a single dollar. So essentially, for every dollar that is raised, then they'll plant a tree. And so far, they've been able to collect about $18 million. A lot of this was from some very wealthy individuals who contributed. Elon Musk contributed $1 million, and some other people contributed as well. It will make a small difference in the grand scheme of things, but it is a symbolic gesture, and it is something that everyone can benefit from. More trees is better no matter how you look at it. We all enjoy having trees, and quite frankly, I look forward to having some of these areas that I would go hiking from to have a forest built up in them again, and something like this can contribute to that effort. So if you're able to and have the means to do so, then you can click on the link below to donate to Team Trees. If you do it through YouTube, then YouTube will contribute a portion of whatever you donate to increase the effect of that somewhat. Thank you guys so much for everything. Let me know whatever questions or comments you guys have. And until next time, keep on tracking. Take care.